Hello everyone, in this video we are going to create a QR code generator using HTML, CSS and JavaScript. Alright, let's start building our QR code generator with HTML. And the first thing we will do is change the title to QR code generator. And after that we'll go inside the body and create a div container that will hold our entire QR generator interface. And inside this container I'll add one h1 tag QR code generator. Next, I am adding an input box where the user will type text or paste a URL and its ID will be text and type will also be text, and I'll also add a placeholder enter text or URL. Right below that, I'm adding a button with the ID of generate QR, which will be used to generate the QR code. After that, I'll create a div with the ID QR box. This div will hold the actual QR code once it's generated. And finally, a download button with the ID of download QR. Now our HTML part is almost done. Let's style our QR code UI. So for that, first I'll link our CSS and we'll go to our style sheet, and the first thing we'll do is select our universal selector and remove the default margin and padding, add a box sizing blur box, and I also change the font family to Arial. Next, I want the whole container to be perfectly centered on the screen, so I'm turning the body into a flex box. So I'll use our body selector and give it a display flex, justify content center, align item center, and height will be 100 vs. Now our container is exactly at the center. I'm going to give a nice gradient background to make it more visually appealing. So for that, what I'll do is I'll add a background of linear gradient which will be 225 degree, and the color would be 0, 60, 84, 10%, and RGB would be 81, 47 and 247 of maybe 50%, and the final color 14, 141 and 132 of 100%. Oh, it's not working. Okay, yep. Now it's time to install our container. So I'll use our dot container selector and give it a background color of RGBA 0, 234, 255, 0.2. And why it's not showing the background color to our container? Okay, we'll come to that part later, but first let me add display flex. Okay, why it's not working? I'm CONTA. Okay, our spelling of container is wrong here. Okay, let's go to our CSS part again. Set the justify content center, align item center, and flex direction would be column. Okay, it's look nice. And I also add a padding of 20 pixel, gap would be 10 pixel, border radius 20 pixel, text color would be white. Let's add a hover effect to our container. So for that, what I'll do is I'll use dot container colon hover selector and give it a box shadow of value 0, 0, 30 pixel, and the color would be RGBA 0, 0, 0, 0.4. Here you can see the hover effect. Let's make it smooth using the transition property. Transition our box shadow, and the duration of transition will be 0.2 seconds. Okay, the spelling of transition is wrong. Here you can see the transition is smooth now. Now let's work for this input field. So for that, I'll select our input using ID and give it a width of 100%, padding of 12 pixels, border radius 10 pixel, outline will be none, border will be none, and the background color would be RGB 0, 44, 44, and the text color would be white. And I also change the placeholder color. So for that, what I'll do is I'll select our input and colon placeholder, and the color of the text should be this one, RGB 75, 209 and 221. Next is our QR box where our QR code will be generated. I'll give our QR box the width of 230 pixel and height same 230 pixels, and the background color will be white, and I'll give it a border radius of 10 pixel. Display would be flex, justify content center, and align item center, so that our QR code will be exactly at the center of this QR box area. Next is to install our button. So I'll use our button selector and give it a width of maybe 70%, padding 5 pixel, 10 pixel, yep, border radius 10 pixel. I don't want any border, so I'll simply type border none, and I'll give it a cursor pointers. Next, I'll change the background color to cyan color, font weight will be bold, and I also add hover effect and active effect to our button. So for that, I'll transform by scaling it to 1.04. Yep, here you can see our hover effect is working. Let's create the active effect. So for that, what I'll do is I'll simply type button colon active. Give it a background color of RGB 75, 237 and 237. Let's see if active is working or not. Yep, background color is changing, and I'll also transform it the value scale to 1. Yep, our button effect is working, click effect is working, and hover effect is also working, and our CSS part is done. Now it's time for our script.js, our JavaScript part. But before that, I want to introduce you to this GitHub repo. This is an open source library available on GitHub. We're going to use it to generate our QR code. But for convenience, I have also added this link in the description so that you can simply go to this web page and you will find a CDN link here. You can simply copy it, or you can just scroll a little bit and you will see this highlighted script line. Simply copy this line, then go to your HTML and add it in body tag, and we'll also link it with our script.js. Now we will work with our JavaScript, and the first thing I will do is selecting all the elements from the HTML that I need to interact with. So first what I will do is I will create a variable called QR, then I will create a text variable which will select our input area. Then after that I will select our generate QR button using document.getElementById generate QR. I'll duplicate this line and I'll select our QR box area using getElementById, and our ID was QR box. And I'll also select our download QR button using document.getElementById, and our download button ID was download QR. Here this QR will store the generated QR code object, and this rest of the code are DOM elements. Next thing I'm adding is the event listener. The first one runs the QR generation whenever the user click the generate QR button. So for that I'll type generate QR and add event listener to it. The event will be of click. Whenever the button will be clicked, it will perform this QR function. And what this QR function will do is, the first thing it will do is it will select the value from this input and store that value inside this value. What's showing error? Okay, we have to give it a parenthesis here. And next thing, before generating anything, we have to make sure that our value, input value exists. And I'm using trim method to remove unnecessary spaces. So if the value.trim exists, then run this code. And here we are going to type the code which will be used to generate our QR code using the library QRCode.js, which we included earlier in our HTML. What I will do is I will type QR is equals to new QR code, and I'll pass two things here. One is QR box and another is a setting object containing text, which will be our value, and I'll give it a width of 200 and height of 200. And I guess this will generate our QR code. Let's see if it's working or not. If I type anything here, let's say SmartTechTip, and type generate QR, and here you can see our QR code is generated. Let's see if I can generate more QR or not. Let's say I type the message hello and click on generate QR. Here you can see QR is generated, but the previous QR is not erased. So for that, what we can do is we can go inside our if condition and type QR box dot inner HTML is equals to empty string. What this will do is this will erase the previous QR code. Erase previous QR. And let's see if it's working or not. If I type anything here and generate QR, and then I change the text and type something else, like let's say something, and click on generate QR again, and here you can see our QR code is erased and new QR code is generated. So our generate QR button is working. I'll also add the enter key to generate this QR. For that, what I'll do is I'll simply add event listener to our text, which will have the event of key up, and it will have a parameter e, and this will perform this function, and the function will be if e dot key is equals to enter. Whenever the enter key will be pressed, it should call this QR function. And what does this QR function do? It generates the new QR code. And I guess our enter key will work now. Let's see if it's working or not. Let me type SmartTechTip again here, and if I press enter key from the keyboard, and here you can see a new QR code is generated. Now it's time to make our download QR button functional. So for that, I will add event listener to our download QR button, and the event will be of click, and whenever the button will be clicked, it will perform this function. And the first thing, we'll check if the QR exists or not. If the QR exists, then only run this code, not this capital QR but small QR, because our variable is QR. So if the QR exists, then only run this download button code. And inside our if condition, I'll type let image equals to document.querySelector, and I'll select our QR box using our ID QR box, and I'll also select image. So when the QR is generated, the library automatically automatically push an image inside this QR box div. Next, I'll create a temporary link using let link is equals to document.create element, and the element will be our anchor tag. This is a common trick in JavaScript to download files without refreshing the page. Now it's time to set the QR image as the download file. So for that, what we'll do is we'll type link.href equal to image.src. What this does is it will point to the QR code image source file, and then we'll add link.download is equals to the file name. Let's say I give it a file name of QRCode.png. It tells the browser that the file name we want is QRCode.png. And now I'll add link.click so that it triggers the download automatically. And now our download button should work properly. Let's see if it's working or not. What I'll type is, I'll type the website URL smarttechtip.com, and if I hit enter key from the keyboard, it generates this QR, and if I click on this download QR button, here you can see I'm able to download this QR as well. And our QR, the image is downloaded inside my download folder. So that was our QR code generator project. Hope you enjoyed this video. Make sure to like, share and subscribe.